My name is Sage Boettcher. Thanks so much for coming to my poster. Today I'll be talking about attentional templates. Attentional templates are representations that are used to guide our attention. These templates are often retrieved from long-term memory associations. Additionally, it has been shown that these template representations are functional rather than vertical. However, in many of these experiments, the template is explicitly provided to the observer either at the beginning of a trial or a block of trials. As such, it remains unclear if a template that is retrieved from long-term memory can also be functionally adapted to the current task demands. Additionally, if these associative memory templates can be flexibly adapted, when does this adaptation occur? This brings us to our two main research questions. First, can we find evidence for adaptation in templates retrieved from memory? And second, at what stage is this adaptation likely to occur? We addressed these questions in two experiments. In experiment 1, observers learned to associate 4 gratings with 4 different shapes. Gratings were defined by a unique combination of color, green or pink, and tilt, left or right. In the main task, observers would be presented with a shape, followed by a grating, and they would be asked to decide if the grating matched the association in memory. In 50% of the trials, the grating was a match. The example on the poster, the observer was presented with a triangle and then the leftward tilted green item, which matched the learned association. Our critical manipulation was in the non-match lure trials. Here we manipulated the most likely lure type between blocks. In some blocks, the tilt distinguishing blocks, the lure differed from the expected target in tilt but not color in 85% of these trials. In the other 15% of lure trials, the lure differed in color, but not tilt. This pattern was reversed for the color distinguishing blocks. As such, there were two main lure types, common and rare lures. If the attentional template is adapted to be the most distinguishing from the common lure, then we should find better performance in the common lure trials compared to rare lure trials. That is, if you're expecting a green leftward tilted item as a target, and the most likely lure is a green rightward tilted item, you should overrepresent tilt in your attentional template to optimize behavior. Let's have a look at the results. Here we have two main dependent variables, false alarms and reaction times. All of this analysis focused on the lure trials, not the match trials. Here you can see that observers incorrectly identified a rare lure as the target more than common lures. In the right panel, you see the pattern for individual subjects. We can break this effect down further by looking at the block types. Remember, in the tilt distinguishing block, the common lure differed from the target most often in tilt but not color. Here you can see that block type made no difference in our overall effect, as common lures were erroneously identified as targets less often than rare lures. A similar pattern emerges when we look at reaction times, with participants being faster to identify common compared to rare lures. Although here we can see this was only true in the color distinguishing blocks, as we saw no difference between common and rare lures in the tilt distinguishing blocks. In experiment 2, we wondered when this adaptation might occur, that is, at retrieval, or while the representation is being maintained in working memory. The basic setup between experiment 1 and experiment 2 were very similar, with one critical manipulation. Here, in experiment 2, in 50% of the trials, the grating appeared after a short delay. In the other half of the trials, the grating appeared after a long delay. Now we manipulated the probable lure type within a trial rather than across blocks. Specifically, for some subjects, lures that appeared early most likely differed with the target in tilt but not color, and lures that appeared late most likely differed in color but not tilt. Critically, within a trial, both lure types were equally likely. If observers can update the attentional template while it is being maintained in working memory, then we should again find benefits when responding to common lures, irrespective of delay length. Let's look at the results. Once again, we'll be looking at false alarms and reaction times for lure trials. As you can see, for both of these measures, there was no difference between common and rare lures. However, if we break this down further by delay length, we now see an interesting pattern emerge. Specifically, we find an interaction such that on trials where the grading appeared early, we do find the expected results. Participants responded faster and more accurately to common lures in the short delay trials. However, this pattern reverses in the long delay. Remember, what was a common lure in the short delay becomes a rare lure in the long delay. So observers continue to respond quickly and more accurately to the same gradings. As such, we can see that observers have adapted their attentional templates for the short delay trials, but were not able or willing to update this representation for the long delay trials. This brings us to our final conclusions. It seems that templates retrieved from long-term memory can be functionally adapted to better serve behavior. However, observers are unable to update these adapted representations. This may indicate that these representations are retrieved in an adapted state, optimized for the immediate task demands. Thank you so much for stopping by my poster, and please email me or join me in Zoom in case you have any further questions. Thanks.